So, before I address our special guest, I need to ask Chidema herself, how do you feel that you're in presence of a legend?
The world do not hear the last one.
So, sir, I need you to understand that originally, this conversation is usually me and the tall guy in the back. His name is Tunde. We're usually here talking about pop culture, music, and stuff. But Bino said that you were coming. You said no, Tunde, because Chidema is a Nollywood OG. I'm also a Nollywood OG, and in as much as, even if you were not doing a remake of Living in Bondage, even if that was not happening, we've always been fans of Living in Bondage. Like, we know the dialogues. I will still get
conversations.
So we want you to know how very special it is, your presence here. Welcome to The Whole Truth, sir.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you so much for coming. Thank you.
Thank you.
What's up in HR? The Nkata.
Awanya.
Anyway.
Awanya. Awemenye translation.
At all.
So let's get right into it. Living in Bondage. How is this happening?
The first
I thought, when I heard it was coming, I thought it was a reboot, but I'm hearing now that it's a continuation.
Yeah. You know, that's the wonderful creativity behind this one that is coming. It's actually a sequel because it's a continuation of my story, as in Andy Okeke's story.
In my life, I'm Oscar Okeke.
Because we're Okeke has put me in bondage, so I am delivered from bondage. Well, okay.
Okay.
So it's a continuation of my story, but it's the beginning of another story for the next generation. So the recreation is in the film, in addition to the continuation. What a wonderful merge.
All right.
And that tells you that these guys that wrote this story, they're geniuses. They've been able to continue the movie, and they were able to recreate the movie at the same time. Telling you they were able to merge the first generation with the second generation. Telling you that they were able to continue in the 21st century a mystery that began in the 20th century. Telling you that they want to extend the hand of the Almighty God that came upon Living in Bondage and made it a world
sensation.
You know, what can I say? So if I didn't have one, you know, so this sequel is going to be the beginning of another beginning. It's going to take Nollywood to the next level. The first Living in Bondage was the beginning
of Nollywood.
The sequel,
that's another
beginning of another beginning.
Was that really the first home video? Because everybody, they say, that's the same thing they say, that Living in Bondage was the first home video, was it?
Right. Why it was regarded as the first movie was that it was the movie that started Nollywood.
Right. Okay.
You know, people were doing
TV
things
shows,
that's more like wedding shooting in the name of movie. You know, that kind of a thing. We've always had things, you go in school, you do drama, then when VHS came in, they could put it on. Good. But that was the first movie that made Nigerians to say, now
we're making film.
We have started.
So no matter where the film industry goes in 1,000 years, you being Living in Bondage, so that means you're always going to be a pioneer. Right?
Well, you can.
That's
now,
type of legendariness I need this life.
With what?
No, but you can now feel why I feel privileged and why I say it could only have been God that granted you that grace to be so favored. You know what it means? In a nation of more than 200 million, you were called divinely to be the first actor that acted the first movie that started Nollywood. You know, it was like before Living in Bondage came, Nigerians did not have the confidence in anything made in Nigeria. If you go to video clubs then, there was nothing like any local film. One guy in Ikeja then, selling videotapes, you know what he had? He boldly wrote on his wall, local movies are not allowed. You can imagine. But immediately living in bondage came. It destroyed the appetite of Nigerians for foreign movies. And that was why they said this is the first movie that started Nollywood.
Ask your
yeah, no, but the question I actually wanted to ask, I want to know like the process. How did the first Living in Bondage come about? Like, because I'm watching the movie and I'm like, the process. How did you get casted? The writing, the directing, and finally the movie Living in Bondage.
Well, it's a long story, but prior to then, you had operas running on TV, series and serials. As in, I started with Ripples, for instance. And you had Checkmate. You had all those.
Yes.
Checkmate.
Yes. Bob-manuel was in Checkmate.
Then Cockerel are Down. Those operas. So what happened was that all the Igbo actors and actresses appearing on TV were invited. The man wanted to shoot in Igbo, so automatically you must have to be somebody that speak and understand Igbo before you can qualify for it. So he invited the people that were appearing on TV then, and then he went also to conspicuous places like National Theatre to advertise, for people to come for audition. So everybody came in and was auditioned, and when he saw me, when I did my first scene, the second scene, he opened his eyes.
You say, guy,
Andy.
As if we never. See, when I was writing this script, it was this kind of a guy that I had in mind. He never saw me. I never saw him. So he would watch me, and it will appear to him as if I was interpreting what was in his mind when he was writing. Because then, scripts were not as detailed as they are now. It's more like a story that you were given. So your individual talent.
Yeah, it's your interpretation and how it builds.
Good.
Fantastic.
So I had gone to the university then, so I had broad knowledge. I was 24, but because I had been to the university and I was taught a conservative course, I was taught management, as in business administration.
Yes.
So I had already become an executive gentleman.
Great life.
So I was carrying myself, in the capacity of a 35-year-old guy. So when he saw the carriage, saw the delivery, then saw the way I was enriching the story to become a dialogue. I think he was overwhelmed. And at a certain point, he had to make his emotion come aloud. And he screamed, "Babazeni Andy."
Up till now.
And he was so sure about his casting of Andy that even when new people came, he still called me that they should compete. So every layer they were coming, and the audition was coming in layers until finally, they settled that, I have to do it. And to God be the glory. When it came out, he justified his choice of my person, and the whole world certified the acting of all the stars. As a matter of fact, all the stars were good.
I know everybody.
All the stars, they were wonderful, So how did that was how basically, it came, and that was how it started.
Oh, okay. So that means that most of the dialogues in the movie was like improvised by the actors.
Yeah. For instance, it was an Igbo film, but the story was was written in English.
Wow.
So I want you to understand.
Wow.
It was shot in Igbo, but the story was written in English. So you can imagine, we have to first of all domesticate it in
your head, yes.
So it was difficult in the first place. So some of them that were very proficient in Igbo, helped a lot. So we had to get it down to Igbo first. Then you don't have to dialogue it. I give you an example. because I remember one scene very well. You know that scene that Andy was unfaithful to the wife and then came back and told the wife a fictitious story. Now, in the story, what you will just see is that Andy came back and told the wife a fictitious story.
Oh. The fictitious story.
You know, so when nata, as in fictitious story, Nadia only men who body ha. Choy ke gapo. You see, Andy, as in, Nena Chico, I need to ha. You may see the ha, but I can't call it. You know the guy. The same thing, Nadia. Go ahead and one and there's a wife. So, but you know, that was where education was helpful. You know, I remembered I knew a little bit of law because, you know, my elder brother then was in law. So I knew that kind of issue of, you know, people fought. One was arrested. My friend went, you know, bailed him and he absconded. And then I held my friend and we went to, you know, I actually coined it. That's how I still remember it today. So the movie then required your creativity as an individual.
On the spot.
So if you're able to manufacture such stories, you'll be, you know, you have an edge over the rest who may not be able to create by impulse some very convincing scenario to fill up the inadequacies in the story then. So it helped me a lot. And even in the movie, you know, I saw myself flowing, being creative, filling up some of those stories, adding flesh to it. And it came out beautiful. Both in the part 1 and in the part 2. Because in the part 2, we started having some problems. Some artists, we are not there. So a lot of things were put more on me. And we acted it and nobody knew that there was a vacuum because already I had refreshed my mind then. So I was able to also fill up 1 or 2 things and nobody knew that there was a vacuum. So it was quite a very, very challenging thing.
Can we compare it to this new one now? How the making of this new one now?
And then
comparing the first one.
The process of making it. What was difficult in making this one?
Now, comparing the first one with the second one would be like comparing the Stone Age with
modern times.
The modern time. Then we were like going to war with stones, but now we're like using drones.
Black magic, red.
You know what it means.
Complete script.
We shot on VHS, but in this one we shot on red. So you understand. Now, Kenneth Okonkwo then came as a naturally talented person, and all I was doing was the gift of God. Now, Kenneth Okonkwo now is 27 years experienced in that particular field. Okay. So I could sleep and wake up and deliver the lines, and they will be asking me, where did you get these lines from? I say, from your script. You know. So this is going to be like living in Bondage Square. You know what I mean? It's like multiplier effect. It's like really showing the world that this is how it all started. You know, when we shot Living in Bondage, people always meet me along the way and say, look, my brother, I don't think there is any other movie that will ever be like Living in Bondage. People have told me that. Now I've seen the one that will be like Living in Bondage. Unfortunately, it is still another Living in Bondage. Breaking free. When I did the first one, I prophesied to them that I'm no longer living in bondage. They thought I was joking. Now I've broken free. So the sequel now, they're going to see an Andy that is not living in bondage.
Again.
And they're going to see the devil that is not giving up, who still want to perpetually put my lineage in bondage.
That same bondage.
But the war continues. But who is going to win this war? Is it God or is it the devil?
You find out.
Did they, this one?
When November
percentage?
18th.
November 8th.
It's 8.
Yes.
Is it in Igbo too, or there's them more?
Yes.
No.
This one is purely English.
We want to internationalize and modernize the film. So we want to shoot in a language that is accessible worldwide and a language that can attract the best of all Nigeria can offer in Nollywood. No matter their ethnicity, no matter their background, we wanted to attract the best of the best. So English was very tempting, and I must confess that we succumbed to the temptation of shooting it in English. And I think it was beautiful.
I have a question about Igbo and English in films.
Proceed.
So, the original Living in Bondage, if you watch it, you find out that the dialogue then, because it's in Igbo, is still better than the dialogues of films today. I get that generally, when we speak our own language, it sounds better than Igbo. Okay? Yes. So, an example is the scene where Andy stops. I think he meets a girl on the road. Okay? Igbo since the beginning of the film. So he stops, he meets again on the middle of the road, and he starts to speak English with her. It's not as sweet as the dialogue is not as perfect as when he's speaking Igbo. Again, the scene where he's very angry, where his brother came and insulted him. Only way that I'm on ego in there, made him mother on my employee. That I made up my mind, I'll deal with him. That's the scene, by the way. He said, I made up my mind, I'll deal with him. So why is it that every time there was that switch? This English, for some reason, is never as perfect. Mind you, we all speak English. This is now our language too.
It has always been.
It is never as perfect as when we speak
our own native language.
And how can we get it right?
Okay, now, even when you were talking about your best scene in that movie, almost half of what was spoken there was English. He doesn't know that Nemwe Monday Dekia in my employ.
True.
Now, I will deal with him.
I made up my mind. I will deal with him. I'm like, deal with him. He's a bastard.
So if you analyze that, you discover that the modern Igbo man, okay, if you analyze that, you will discover that the modern Igbo man has allowed English to adulterate
his
language. So it's always easy. That transition is always easy. If we had shot that Living in Bondage and said no English, no matter how small, first of all, it will be on Igbo. If you go to your own grandmother in the village now, when she's speaking Igbo, English will be sneaky.
Yeah,
it's true.
Till today, I don't know what Igbo word for window is.
I mean it. There is no Igbo word for I mean it. There is no Igbo word for I mean it. Window, man.
Because I'm not even my grandmother. On our car like this, she's gonna say window. She's gonna say window.
But I cannot.
What's the Igbo word for shoulder?
Amam. The one for I mean it, there is nothing. Because I've asked my Igbo teacher. The Igbo certificate that you mean. There is nothing for I mean it.
So, never dini abona. Ina asu Igbo. Oyibo gana alibania. Good. Now, if Oyibo gana alibania, why not Welizio Igbo? First of all, we have communicated everything we needed to communicate in that Living in Bondage. The story was complete. It was the story of Andy. So it started, and you saw when he was delivered. So we finished that. So what we are now trying to do is to move to the next level. And we wanted to capture the whole world to see the movie in the light of whatever medium that will be more easily accessible to them. We subtitled Living in Bondage. Do you know what? When the very first one came out, it was not subtitled. It was the clamor of the non-Igbos that made us to take it back to the studio to subtitle. So this time around, rather than subtitling it, they're hearing it directly.
Them in English.
Good. And I want to let you know that when you say the dialogue will not be as original, no, it depends on the story, you know. It depends. There are stories that are African stories. If you tell them in African story, it will gel. If you tell them in English, where the people are very conversant with communicating with English, it will still gel. The problem is getting somebody to speak English when he cannot speak it naturally. So while he is struggling to deliver his line, the natural acting is not there. But if English is your primary source of communication, you will even flow in acting in it more than your own traditional language. You'll be shocked that they had to teach a lot of people in the living in bondage how to flow in Igbo.
In Igbo while they're acting.
When they were acting.
Because your day-to-day communication.
Yes, it's in English.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
So if you watch the acting after living in bondage, it was easier for us to flow in English. Very much easier than for us to flow in vernacular. Like she just said, if you saw window in a story, how would you have interpreted it in Igbo?
You can wear window.
Oh, window. Window. Only for someone. I mean it. The highest. You mean
yes. But you have to put that mean.
You know.
I said my textbook or our Igbo teacher we have asked. There is nothing. There is no Igbo word.
Okay, so another question. Chidema, this is the one you've been dying to ask. So
no, as in one of the questions it's not just one. But firstly, what's the psychological effect of acting, Andy? Like where people are approaching you on the road and saying, Andy, we give me him. Like I know that Nigerians too, because I know that naturally Nigerians are like that. But to act something like Andy Okeke, like what was the effect after?
First of all, when that movie came out, it struck people as if it was real. So they were taking it as real. They thought maybe this thing was going on in our real life and somebody was videoing it without our knowing. So they took it very personally. So when they now see me, they'll be like, are you sure it's not a spirit that I'm seeing? Then of course they will come with the barrage of questions. Hi, Andy, man, again, kid, you was again. Then some other person will say, hi, I like you, man. Then one of the person will say, I know of one man that told me, please, get me Meditano. Or is one man always want to change? You know, because, she was all good.
Yes, she was.
So the reaction was quite plural and it was quite universal. Everybody had something to say and to ask about. But the psychological effect on me, the transition was electric. It did not give me time to prepare to become a superstar. It's like, when you read the Bible and you hear the twinkle of an eye story. Now miracles happen in a twinkle of an eye. That was how it happened. Like going down to sleep, an ordinary person, and waking up the next day a superstar. There was something that touched me. I was living in a street. I was with people, playing with all of them. When this movie came out, the same people I was playing with were rushing to my house to see me. And I came out in the house one day and I was embarrassed. And I'll be calling the person's name. Nadia, what is the meaning of this? For what? You know, that kind of a thing. It was surprising. Maybe some of them were like, or the same person. Meaning that when God gives you that level of stardom, something has changed in the spirit. They couldn't believe that it's the same person they were dealing with. You may think you're still the same. Just like as I was expressing my surprise to them that they are now looking at me as if it's in the mirror. But they themselves are now seeing another thing and they want to confirm whether it's still the same person. Meaning And take this very seriously. When you acquire that level of stardom, you can no longer say you're living your life for yourself. A lot of people are now looking up to you to take their bearing. Whatever you do now affects millions of people. You know, after that movie, I still thought I was going to be myself. But one experience taught me that I could no longer be myself. I was a Lagosian. And let me say, I'm still a Lagosian. I was in Lagos for 17 years. If you are in Lagos, the spirit of driving will always be in you. So one guy drove very roughly, and I got annoyed. And I drove very roughly too, and stopped him. And I boned. The guy looked. He did like this. No. He looked again. He warmed down. Oh. I boned. He was laughing. He left his car. And he was laughing. And he came close to me. I boned. He knocked. And was laughing. You know? But because he was laughing. Because he was laughing, I now wound down my glass. And he looked. When he confirmed it was me, he said, Andy.
Nobody, not even his real name.
You know, he called again, Andy. He called the third time, Andy. Andy by Meteria. So I was like, The guy was laughing. You know what he told me? He said, Andy.
Real talk.
My man. He got to me. This was a guy who was not claiming he was right.
He was right.
He actually acknowledged he was right. But the meaning of this, the meaning is it when we are going crazy, you will now join us.
You have to stay sane for you.
You represent all of us. Exactly. He was like, no. If I am mad, I need to look at a man like you
and stuff
to learn how not to be mad. And then you are now looking at a man like me to come down to become mad. As in, no. He couldn't get it. And I'm like, I told you, Nadia, sorry. I started apologizing. But that was a message that no church and no pastor had preached to me. And I went home and told God, wait. This man was right. If you choose a certain profession, you should be able to choose the consequences that come with it. Why are you called a star? You're shining above for people to find their path. You should be a role model to everybody that buys your film and supports your job. You should be able to live your life bearing them in mind. You should be able to acknowledge whatever you do, a child will grow up and start doing it innocently, thinking that's the best way to go. You owe them the duty of care. And I made up my mind. I'm going to shed off that bit of me that says you must remain who you are. You voluntarily went into the movie world and you must have to carry your fans along. So whenever I want to pee on the road, which I was doing before without minding.
I still a drum, I'm not a star.
I know. I will not have to if another child pees here now because he saw me, will I be teaching him a good thing?
You forget being an animal in the road, Marcus, I'll do it like that.
And you know what God said? He said, whoever makes any of these children to sin, it will be worse that for you. It will be better for you that a great stone will be, put on your neck and you drown than making any of them to sin. So you have to really be very careful. So the psychological impact was very strong. I now had to live my life taking into cognizance that a lot of people are looking up to me to find their way. So I must show the light. Then I now acknowledge that, look, there are certain things I can do. There are certain things I cannot do. I did not factor it in when I was going into movie world. Yeah. I just went in because this is what gives me joy. This is what I'm passionate about. people were being entertained by me when they watch me, the way I walk, the way I talk, the way I do everything, even before I entered the movie. So they were the ones who started making me to believe that this is where you belong. And when I went there, I really knew that I belonged there. So the psychological impact was extraordinary. It was a quantum leap. It was like starting with your best. So you now have to duty to maintain the best. And I'm glad that I was able to maintain that standard till today. And if I stop now as an actor, I'm good.
You're in the history books.
You know, I'm good. Started with Nollywood, ending with Nollywood. Started with living in bondage, ending with living in bondage. You know, 27-year cycle before she was born.
Before I was born.
You know, so if I conclude now as an actor,
you had a good run.
I'm good. I'm good.
Good as
good.
Do you know one of the good things about this living in bondage that is coming out soon is that you can actually put it in the history book, because it's like if you want to know the Nollywood of before and the Nollywood of now, all you need to do is to give the person the first living in bondage and the new living in bondage.
Absolutely.
That's it. That's what you need to do, because the picture, the story, the location, the cameras, everything is different. Then this
may
one
not. It will be
like
difficult for anybody to beat the record that this one is going to put in. It will be very difficult.
Oh, and you know why? Because most of our new films these days, okay, is this generation that knows about catch. Remember, our parents too are on this, so a lot of like our parents that like the old ones, this they will actually go out of their way to jump on.
When we finish this shoot, is my mother I'm calling.
Yeah, no, my family group chat is going to see a video of this too. Okay, so still on the psychological effect.
Yeah.
How much of that whole the cult and everything? How much of
playing Andy?
No, I mean the things that was actually happening.
That's playing Andy.
Okay.
Yeah.
How much of what actually goes on in Nigeria was represented in? Because we're hearing stories about cult and all those big men and everything. So how much of that do you think the film showed us?
You know, movies are a reflection of the society. Why that movie came like a bomb was that it talked on something everybody has been talking about.
And I know,
but I've been like very afraid to say publicly. So people were like, is this true? Is this happening? Is this and that? And now they watched it and it's like, it is true. That was why they thought it was real. You know, we've always heard about people doing rituals, you know, and then that was the days of 419. That was when it was starting. The days of drug peddling, you know, that was when it was starting. So, you know, these musicians will sing with some people and everybody will be like, oh no, we go, this and that. So when it came out, it was like it reflected the society and everybody, you know. And from what is happening till now, I think I have every reason to believe that it's actually true, you know, because certain mysterious things cannot be explained, except if you go the line of that living in bondage stuff. And a lot of people have been caught with human parts and they confess that it's for ritual purposes.
True.
So what else are we, you know, looking for? We've had the Otokoto incident, which of course is part of the sequel. We've had
Yahoo Plus.
You know, Yahoo Plus. We've heard about you know, so
these elements are in the new film.
Yes, kind of.
He's there.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the things I'm happy about is that the people from Living in Bondage that also made an appearance.
All of them.
You are there.
Yeah.
Bob-manuel is there.
Yes.
Kana is there.
Yeah.
I've seen those are the ones I've seen in the trailer.
The guy who introduced you to the cult.
Yes.
The short
his
guy.
friend.
Yeah, his friend. I can't remember his name.
No, he was not there. Like I said, the genius about this movie is that it's both a continuation and a recreation.
Okay.
So those ones that died in the first movie are not going to appear here because they cannot continue.
The story.
Where is Merit? Like the woman herself.
I didn't hear the part.
Oh my God, yes. I got so frustrated. What the hell happened? Like, what's this?
No, go on. Because But that tells you, and that's the beauty of this sequel. If you sell your soul to the devil, he comes after everything. Including lineage. Because when you're selling your soul is spirit, you're selling your blood. And when you sell your blood, if you do not use the blood of Jesus to cut it off, it will run through the veins. That is why the first sons of people who have been initiated into any occultic society will always be required to continue that process. If you had shrine in your village, you will know that the chief priest there, when he's no longer there, the first son
takes over.
So it's just natural. So the thing that captured my interest in this sequel is the fact that Andy broke free, but because he had a son which he was not aware that existed.
Yeah, that was my question, because
so the devil now went in and then proceeded and wanted to recreate it. I am not going to tell you everything about this movie. It's so rich. It's so full of
spoilers.
Yes, because one of the things I was calculating, because when I saw the trailer, okay, there was Anunamde. Okay, I think that's his name. I was like, but Merritt died, but I was like, there will be a way for them to find the son. So one of the things I want to see is where the son came from. Good. So don't give it away, because we are going to
even if I give it away, it's something that will still be suspending. But let me just give you a thriller.
Oh shit. Bring it.
In the living in bondage, in your own calculation, how many women did Andy have?
That's where I was gonna go.
Was it only men?
No.
That's where I was gonna go.
Do you know my theory is that woman, that prostitute. I feel like that's my own theory. Until we watch the film, we will not know whether my theory was right.
Now you see, I am not going to blame her so much, but if she went back
to watch
again,
she would have realized that I took the prostitute not to go in with her.
It's true.
Good, but I'm not gonna go in it. Living in bondage is inside of me. Because it's my story. But I am not going to go into that. But just know that Andy did not have just a woman.
True. He couldn't have.
Yes.
He had women.
With the money that he had.
Where did they, because I think there were some international sets in the locations.
It was South Africa.
Allow you. You mean in this sequel?
Film, yeah.
Oh, sure. That is why it is called internationalization of living in bondage. It's not about, look, we did not create any location. We went to the location. So there was nothing like creating South Africa in Nigeria. We went to South Africa. In the first Living in Bondage, Andy Okeke was all over the world. Like I told you, most of those fictitious stories I made up. Andy Sensational Tie, working at Japan, Goodbye London. So he was in dialogue. But this time around, he
went there.
In reality. When we shot the first Living in Bondage, a lot of things were in shadows. Today, they are in substance. A lot of things we are in, stories. But now they are in reality. So it's Stone Age versus modern world.
I'm excited.
So what I'm gonna do is,
You know what? I'm more excited than you.
No, you look it. I
can't wait to see the movie myself. A movie that we took one whole day to shoot one scene, and I did not feel that they were wasting my time. One scene. If I wasn't part of that scene, I would like, man, what's the meaning of this? When they told me, the other artists told me, we spent, wow. Now tell these people, the time we spend on this, do you know, since that time we've been shooting 2 scenes, and I'm like, this people, what's the meaning of this? When I now went in, my own reduced TV from 2 to 1. And I did not feel that my time was wasted. Every word counted and was counted. Every dialogue counts and was counted. Every movement. it must be perfected, it must synchronize. Everybody, cast and crew, must come into agreement that we have gotten what we want to get. So there was no shortcut to it. Perfection was the word. And when you're part of it, because of the wonderful background they will give you, the food is there, the welfare, fantastic, everybody is doing well. There was conviviality, you know, between cast and crew. So everything was there. So you wouldn't have much room to complain. You only have rooms to enjoy. So at the end of the day, you will bear with them when they want to insist to get the right thing. And you know what?
You got the right thing.
They got it.
Ramsey Noah directed, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he directed, you know.
Directorial debut.
I've always said that I am reluctant to concede to the fact that that was his first time. Yeah. After being a movie actor for more than 20 years, you just cannot say that is your first time. But then, there has to be a formal announcement of his person. So we can agree that this is the time one can say he has officially directed a movie. But when you have been an actor for a while, you will discover that yes, one word or the other, you will be part of because you may be working with a director that you are more experienced than, and you would have to be pointing out to him
some things.
With that, you are directing without knowing.
Yeah.
So he was fantastic, and he came in with a lot of experience. Being an actor, and a very good one for that matter, he will be able to act for you, to tell you what you're missing and the expression he wants in an event that you, as maybe a new actor or did not understand him, you know, and you see that he was just fantastic.
Okay, so I say what I'm going to do is, you know that Black Panther craze, how people were wearing traditional, so when I'm going to watch Living Bondage, me Isiago, okay, with red wool like this. I don't know now.
I'm quarrel.
Everybody, we get them mad with their thought like this. So November 8th is when it hits cinemas around us. November 8th comes to cinemas.
Yeah, November 8th. Across the nation. November 8th. As a matter of fact, the cinema houses are actually, they are looking forward to it. They have provided their facilities free of charge. They are like, Living in Bondage, please come. So Nigeria is actually packaging this movie to let the world know that Nigeria is the #1 entertainment country in the world. And I think this movie is going to launch us to that category, and we will start eyeing the #1 seat position. Okay. So it's November 8th is it. And you know what? It's going to be officially released November 3. And it's going to be shown to the world November 8th. And you know what? November 6th is my birthday.
Oh, correct.
So you can imagine that Living in Bondage has refused.
To leave you.
Yeah,
you know? But I have broken free.
Yes, yeah.
You know? So Living in Bondage, breaking free, you know.
Is the secret.
So November is always my charming month. And the producers and the organizers, not being aware of that, put in those things. 6 is in the middle of the 3rd and the 8th. So it's already a success.
Okay. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Because if you leave the two of us,
this will come, but just be considerate because I have so many questions. I don't know the next time I'm going to be around this much iconicness more. I need to just hurry back and go and watch it. Of course, so I hope we also run into you at one of these premieres and
yeah,
stuff.
Sure.
And please, if I see you in public, just make a mad and name let them know that we are friends. So that
you know these iconic stuff. You have to, if you don't want your life to be changed, you have to consciously fight not to be iconic in your own eyes. Because the greatest and the fastest way to start falling is when you think you are already there. Yeah. You still need human beings. So you have to consciously reject people from worshiping you. so that they will know that the powers you are exhibiting are simply by the act of the grace of God. You know, people have been so loving and so good to me, but I have refused to let them think that there's something special about me more than them, that it's simply because I am operating under a special grace. So I am really grateful to God for what He has made me. I am still as ordinary as myself. I want to continue to be as ordinary as I want to be. And if you say you love me badly, what if I start to love you madly? So it's something. So whenever you love me, I will love you more. Because it is that your love that is making me appear as if I am iconic. So I am grateful to the impouring of love from everybody. And my fans have always been my greatest assets.
Why, yeah.
And
I
love them too, you know? So I love you guys, and I mean it, and I love you all.
Thank you for coming, sir.
Thank you.
That's the whole truth, ladies and gentlemen.
My name is Dr. Kenneth Okonkwo. Subscribe to Accelerate TV and keep watching. Cheers.